This is in the 273rd District Court of St. Augustine County, Texas, and it's in the interest of Eric Polk Jr. Ms. Fishonda Ruth, I need you to raise your right hand and tell me that your hand is in the air.
My hand is in the air.
Ms. Ruth, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. You can put your hand down. Raise your hand for me, Mr. Polk. Eric Polk, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. You can put your hand down. Mr. McNulty, you handling this case for state?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Do you have any other witnesses besides the parties?
No other witnesses, Your Honor.
This appears to be an acknowledgement of paternity in regards to the child, Eric Charles Polk Jr.
Yes, Judge.
You can call your first witness.
All right. At this time, the state will call Miss Ruth.
Yes, sir.
Miss Ruth, do you have any safety concerns with your address or contact information potentially being included in any order that gets entered today?
No, sir.
Now, what is the name and date of birth of your child who's before the court today?
Eric Charles Polk Jr. His birthday is 09/23/2012.
And who is the father of your child?
His father is Eric Charles Polk Sr.
And did Mr. Polk sign an acknowledgement of paternity acknowledging that he is the father of your child?
Yes, he signed the birth certificate.
Now, what is the name and date of birth of your child who's before the court today?
Eric Charles Polk Jr. His birthday is 09/23/2012.
And who is the father of your child?
His father is Eric Charles Polk Sr.
And did Mr. Polk sign an acknowledgement of paternity acknowledging that he is the father of your child?
Yes, he signed the birth certificate.
All right. And Your Honor, at this time, the state would enter into evidence as State's Exhibit A, the acknowledgement of paternity.
Ms. Ruth, I've just placed on the screen a copy of the alleged acknowledgement of paternity for Eric Jr. Is it okay if I look at this acknowledgement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Same question, Mr. Polk. Is it okay if I look at the acknowledgement for Eric Jr.?
Yes, sir.
State's Exhibit A is admitted into evidence.
Now, who does your child live with?
He lives with me, the mother.
And who makes the important day-to-day decisions for your child?
I do.
Now, does Mr. Polk have a relationship with your child?
Yes.
And has your child visited with Mr. Polk in the past?
Yes.
Would you have concerns about Mr. Polk having standard visitation rights, which would include your child going and staying with him over on the first, third, and fifth weekend of every month for the whole weekend?
Yes.
Okay, what are your concerns about Mr. Polk having your child overnights on weekends?
Not having stability and alcoholism.
Has there been incidents in the past of alcoholism?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court what happened in the most recent incident?
Most recent incident, I was called at 11:30 at night, woken up by him. He asked me if I didn't came and pick him up. I told him no, he didn't know where he was. His cousin came and got him and picked him up because she told me that he was left at home. But Eric told me that he was just went to got food.
Do you have concerns about the environment that he would be in if he went and stayed with him?
Yes, I do.
And what is it about the environment that Mr. Polk lives in that you're concerned about?
I'm not for sure where he lives at because he's back and forth with his mother and dad. Sometimes he do stay at his home in the country, so I'm not for sure what his stability is at home. But mostly it's alcoholism. Sometimes drug abuse.
What kind of health insurance do you currently have for your son?
I have medical insurance, health insurance.
And is this insurance that you get through your employer?
Yes.
And what is the cost of the premiums for that health insurance for your child?
The premium for him is $284.34 a month. That's just for him.
And does that include health and dental insurance?
It has two free cleanings on my health insurance, but no dental insurance. That is separately. I had to drop that last year. I had to
So you
drop
said
the
two.
dental and vision.
So you said it's for him it's $284 and how many cents?
34 cents.
Now, are you going to be asking this court to order Mr. Polk to pay any back child support or retroactive support?
No.
All right, I have no further questions. I pass the witness.
Call your next witness.
At this time, the state will call Mr. Polk.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Polk, do you have any other minor biological children who are below the age of 18?
Yes, sir. I have one other son. He's 7 years old.
And does this son live with you?
No, sir. He lives with his mother.
Do you have an obligation to support this other son?
Yes.
And where do you currently work?
I work at Common Energy in St. Augustine, Texas.
And are you paid hourly there?
Yes, sir. $14 an hour.
14 an hour. And how many hours do you work on average each week?
40 plus.
40 plus. Now, do you typically get overtime every week, or is that something that just happens every once in a while?
Yeah, it typically happens every once in a while, because it depends on the weather, because we work on a pipeline. If it's raining, we can't work. Or if we don't get a right away. Yes, sir.
And when you do work overtime, are you paid time and a half, or is it still 14 an hour?
It's time and a half.
Okay. Now, you heard Miss Ruth's concerns that she expressed about your home environment. Do you have a safe place if the court were to give you standard visitation rights? Do you have a safe home environment for
Yes,
your
sir.
child to stay at?
Yes, sir.
And so are you asking then to have the standard visitation rights instead of any restrictions on your visitation?
Yes, the standard.
Okay. All right. I have and is there health insurance available to you through your employer?
Yes, sir, it is.
What would be the cost of in premiums to enroll your child on your health insurance through work?
For just medical, it's $223. Before, if I added medical, vision, and dental, it's $281.
Is that monthly?
No, it's weekly.
283
Yeah,
per week?
I know it's kind of high, but I can get a cheaper insurance, or go through another company. Because I know it's kind of inflated. It's very inflated, if you ask me, because that's pretty much like $1,100-$1,200 a month.
Okay. I have no further questions. I pass the witness.
Call your next witness.
I have no other witnesses, Your Honor.
Miss Ruth, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Let me get one of these easy ones knocked out of the way first. So you had dental, but you let it expire. Why did you let the dental insurance expire?
Why did I let it go?
Yes, ma'am.
Because at that point I couldn't afford it.
Okay. And how much was the dental when you had it in place?
I'm not for sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna say range between $50 or less.
Okay. Figure that one out. All right. So, Miss Ruth, you said that you had concerns about Mr. Polk visiting with Eric Jr. because you believe he has an alcohol problem. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, has Eric Jr. ever spent the night with his father?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time that Eric Jr. was over at Mr. Polk's house overnight?
It's been a couple. mean stay overnight, completely overnight, or
Yes,
just for a
ma'am.
couple hours?
No,
The
overnight.
the whole night. It's been a couple months ago.
Okay. So
Judge,
no,
it's
no,
been
Mr.
way.
Pope. No, no,
Okay,
Mr. Pope.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
I'm sorry.
no, no.
Yes, sir.
Don't do that.
Okay, I won't. I'm so sorry.
Remember,
Sorry.
you're in my courtroom, Mr. Pope. I'll
I'm
get to
sorry.
you. I'll give you a chance to defend yourself. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's been a couple months, in your opinion, Miss Ruth, since Mr. Polk has had an overnight visit with Eric Jr.
Yes, sir.
All right. In the last year, Miss Ruth, how many times would you guess that Eric Jr. has been over to Mr. Polk's house overnight?
2.
2 times?
2.
Okay. So it's not very regular that Mr. Polk has overnights or weekends.
Correct.
Has Eric Jr. ever spent in the last year? Has Eric Jr. ever spent the whole weekend at Mr. Polk's house?
The whole weekend?
Yes, ma'am. Friday to Sunday.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. And that's okay. I mean, I know you're trying to remember and you're guessing. I'm not gonna hold you to it. All right.
I'm gonna say no. I'm not for sure. No.
But even then, it wouldn't have been very many, less than 2, right?
Right.
Okay. Miss Ruth, in your opinion, can you tell me why Eric Jr. hasn't been over to his father's house and spent the weekends? Why hasn't he done that?
Because I has restricted the visitation on Eric until we got it on paperwork.
Okay. So
The safety.
I didn't, it's okay. Don't defend yourself, Miss Ruth. Just state the facts.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Eric was born in 2012. Is that right, Miss Ruth?
Yes, sir.
So he's 11 now.
Yes, sir.
All right. What county do you live in, Miss Ruth?
I live in Augustine County.
All right. You and Mr. Polk live kind of close together?
Yes, sir. We live
All right.
about 15 minutes apart.
Yeah. I mean, St. Augustine's actually a big county.
Yes, sir.
There's not a lot of people that live in the county, but it's a big county.
Correct.
Miss Ruth, at some point in time, I have to give Mr. Polk the right to have weekend visits with Eric Jr., okay?
Yes, sir. I can understand that.
All right. I might have to phase that in a little bit. I might have to ease Mr. Polk into those long weekend visitations and those long holidays. But at some point in time, that restrictions has to come off and he's got to get his contact rights with his son.
Yes, I understand that.
Thank you very much, Miss Ruth. All right, Mr. Polk, you there?
Yes, sir.
You have another child that's 7 years old. Is that correct, Mr. Polk?
Yes, sir, I do.
What county does that child live in?
Dallas County.
All right. And so the child's 7 years old. When was the last time you saw that child that lives in Dallas County?
It's been at least a year.
Okay. All right. And Miss Ruth said that you've only had overnight visitations with Eric Jr. twice in the last year. Do you disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay. How many times in the last year would you say, Mr. Polk, that Eric Jr. spent the night with you?
He hasn't.
Okay. So you haven't had overnights at all, in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. I was making sure I was going around the right road. And Mr. Polk, I want you to know, I understand it's not your fault. I mean, Miss Ruth just told me that she wasn't allowing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. But you do understand, Mr. Polk, that while Eric is older, I mean, he's an 11-year-old child, you haven't had any real contact with him in quite some time, right?
Right.
Don't you think it'd probably be in Eric's best interest, Eric Jr.'s best interest, that I ease you into the long visitations that you should be getting?
Yes, sir. I've been longing for it. Yes, sir.
Not good enough. So you see there, that's easy to do. As long as I got reasonable people in front of me, it makes my job super easy. Anything further from the state?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Miss Ruth, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I made a ruling?
No, sir.
So, I just thought of 2 things I need to ask Mr. Polk about. Mr. Polk, do you live by yourself or do you live with other people?
I live by myself.
All right. And the nature of where you live, is it an apartment, a house, a mobile home? What do you live in?
A mobile home.
All right. How big is it?
It's 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom.
All right. So you got plenty of room there for you and Eric Jr.?
Yes, sir.
It's clean, it's nice, there's a place for him to sleep and eat.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
There's not holes in the walls, it's air conditioned and it has electricity in it.
Yes, sir.
You believe it or not, Mr. Polk, I have to ask you these questions because sometimes other people have answered in the other way. Nope, I ain't got any electricity to my mobile home. I'm like, well, how can you live there? 105 degrees out in August, and you can't live in a mobile home without air conditioning.
Yes, sir.
But you got air conditioning, it's all heated, there's a place for him to sleep.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not dealing with an infant. I'm dealing with an 11-year-old. I guarantee you, Mr. Polk, that if Eric Jr. says that all of that stuff is not true, the first person he's going to tell when he gets back home is who? His mother, right?
Right.
There you go. You better. I want you to make sure you understand. You better have all your ducks in a row the first time Eric Jr. comes over there. All right.
I got you.
All right. Now, the other thing that Miss Ruth said that offers me concerns as well, so I need to make sure I get it addressed. How the company that you're currently working for, Mr. Polk, how long have you been there?
Almost 4 months.
Okay. And she brought up a concern that she has about you and alcohol. Do you think, Mr. Polk, that you have an alcohol problem?
I get heavy in the bottle sometimes, but when I'm around my son, I don't condone in that behavior.
Easy enough. I got something I can use to fix that with. All right. And I appreciate your honesty, Mr. Polk. That's important to me. Okay. All right. Miss Ruth, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir. Go ahead.
Mr. Polk, is there anything else you think I need to know about this case before I make a ruling?
No, sir.
Court's going to find the court has jurisdiction. Court's going to find, based on the testimony of the parties, it is certainly in Eric's best interest to name the parties as joint managing conservators, with Miss Ruth as the parent with the right to establish the primary residence of the child. Mr. Polk is going to have visitation with Eric Jr. at any and all times mutually agreed to by the parties. If no mutual agreement, then Mr. Polk is going to have a phased-in visitation schedule. Mr. McNulty, the phases will be as follows. There will be 0 supervised visits with 0 visits for the half day. And the phase-in visitation schedule will start with full-day visits. So Mr. Polk is going to have 6 full-day visits from Saturday morning till Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. When those 6 visits are done, then Mr. Polk is going to have 6 one-night overnight visits, Saturday at 6 till Sunday at 6. All visits will be on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th Saturday of the month until those 12 visits are completed. Once those 12 visits are done, then Mr. Polk can have standard possession, which is weekends and holidays, birthdays, Christmas, that kind of stuff. There will be no drinking of any alcoholic beverage while in possession of the child. Okay, just that simple. Mr. Polk said that he doesn't have any problem with that, so we're going to put it in the order and make sure of it. And I guarantee you, if Mr. Polk's doing any drinking, I guarantee Eric Jr. is going to tell on him when he goes back home and sees Miss Ruth. So that's going to be the order of the court in regards to the visitation and the conservatorship. There will be no non-disclosure in this case. As far as the child support and the medical support, I'm going to order Miss Ruth to maintain the health insurance that she has on the child. The problem that I have with this particular order, Mr. McNulty, is the dental insurance. It does seem kind of high, and I've maxed out Mr. Polk in regards to his medical. You know, I'd like to see Miss Ruth go out and explore and see if maybe she can qualify for Medicaid for the dental portion of it. But I don't know if Mr. McNulty can address it that way. So I'll just leave that up to Mr. McNulty on how he wants to put it in the court order. I'll look at it when it gets there. I'm sure Mr. McNulty will do a fine job of getting that medical provision sorted out. But Miss Ruth will maintain the health insurance that she has on the child through her employer. Mr. Polk may be able to go out and get insurance somewhere else. The problem with that, Mr. Polk, is the law tells me, the judge, how I'm supposed to look at the parties, that being you and Miss Ruth, and how the insurance is to be provided. The first place I have to look is your employer, Mr. Polk, and your health insurance is way too expensive. $1,000 or $1,200 a month is way too much money. Okay. Right. So then the second place I'm supposed to look is Mr. Ruth's employer. Now, Miss Ruth has just told me that she has the insurance in place. That's as far as I can look. Even if you go out, Mr. Polk, and get health insurance somewhere else, I can't get to what you're telling me because Miss Ruth has it through her job. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you may want to go out and explore that. You might be able to find some dental insurance to help Miss Ruth with the child. But
Yes,
I'll
sir.
leave that up to you. The child support in this case is going to be $345 a month plus $100 a month in medical plus $10 a month in dental. Those payments will begin November the 1st of 2023. I did give Mr. Polk credit for another dependent. There'll be no retroactive child support in this case, and Mr. Polk will be responsible for court costs, but I'll give him until April the 30th of 2024 to pay my court costs. Mr. McNulty, did the state of Texas hear all the terms and conditions of my court order?
Yes, I did. And just to clarify, it's 100 a month for medical reimbursement, 10 a month for dental reimbursement. And okay, yes, I and 345 a month for child support.
You got it. All that starting November the 1st. Any other questions, Mr. McNulty?
No, I think that's everything.
Mr. Polk, Miss Ruth, what's going to happen now is Mr. McNulty's office is going to send me an order. If it matches what I said here today, I'm going to sign it, get it back to them. And, oh, Mr. McNulty, I did say no alcoholic beverages in possession.
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure I have that on the record. The court is ordering that there will be no alcohol consumed while in possession of the child. Okay. All right. Court costs by April 30th, 2024. Miss Polk, Mr. Polk, Miss Ruth, Mr. McNulty's office is going to send me an order. As long as it matches what I said here today, I'm going to sign it and get it back to him. Then he's going to make a copy of it and send it to each of you. Miss Ruth, do you have any questions about my ruling?
No, sir. I just want to make sure that he is that would be I'm not sure if that's too much. I mean, I'm not really asking for child support, but I just want to make sure he can afford that.
Well, I mean, I said it, Miss Ruth, based on what he told me he earns. Okay.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I did not factor in any overtime. So he is not paying you any money on overtime. I couldn't factor it in because I heard no evidence in regards to how many hours a week he's working on average. So I didn't even factor in the overtime. Okay.
This is just no.
Here's another little tidbit, Miss Ruth.
Yes,
I
sir.
know this is going to sound strange. Once the money gets in your hands, once it comes out of Mr. Polk checks, goes through the AG system and is back to you, you can do what you want to with it. If you want to give some of it back to Mr. Polk, you can.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Once it gets to you, it's yours. You do with it what you want. All right.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Any
Just
other
to make sure it was
questions?
reasonable. That's all. Okay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other questions, Miss Ruth?
No, sir.
Mr. Polk?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Yes, it is one more question. Will those papers be sent out to us about the visitation?
Well, yes. As soon
Okay.
as I sign it and get it back to Mr. McNulty, they'll make a copy of it and send it to you. Answer Mr. Polk. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good question. Sometimes I get in the habit of talking real fast, Miss Ruth, because I've made that statement probably about 5,000 times. And so I'm not even listening to myself talk most of the time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm just regurgitating stuff I say at every hearing, and I apologize if I get too fast. Okay.
Yes, sir.